Alright, I'm here to give my impressions on Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's a pretty bad name, particularly the Clair Obscur part, because I don't know what the hell that means. There's no character named fucking Claire, and the shit's pretty obscure. I'll give you that. Shit's pretty obscure. We'll get into that in a bit. But the concept of this one is what sold me. I remember fucking E3 or whatever the fuck game conference, probably a year ago, and this game really struck me. There's like this evil fucking witch or whatever the fuck, and she paints this number in the sky, and everyone that age will fucking just turn into dust. They'll just fucking die before your eyes. You know what I mean? The number's like ticking down, I guess, because everyone's a young person. You know what I mean? The girl calls him old man. He's like in his 30s or whatever. So the concept is every year they send some people off because, they're going to die soon fucking anyway. And they're trying to take out this fucking witch so people stop fucking dying. You know what I'm saying? And at first, I was like, that's a cool concept. You know what I mean? Especially in the context of JRPGs, you guys. My whole life, I've really wanted to love JRPGs more than I have been able to, because I feel like they're just so tropey and so samey, a lot of them, not all of them. You know what I mean? That's why I appreciate a Final Fantasy VII or something like that. But, it's usually just a bunch of orphans from some village, and then village gets burned down, and then they go on some fucking mission to kill the king or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many of them, oh gosh, it's a bunch of orphans again or whatever. You know what I mean? That's why I appreciate something with a unique concept like this. I can really get behind the concept. And something about it really evoked like Final Fantasy X to me. It's a little more mature, a little more focused on like the presentation and the art style and stuff like that, and the turn-based combat and stuff like that. Focus on like characters. That's what it seemed to me like. I was comparing it to Final Fantasy X. Having played like 5 hours of it, I'm not so sure. We'll get into that. I want to see what their official definition of the plot is, because honestly, I feel like I understand the plot more from the trailers and the coverage of the game going in than what the game has really been telling me. I'm kind of confused by the fucking game, to be honest with you. So this says the official definition. The game follows the volunteers of Expedition 33 who set out to destroy the Paintress, a being causing the yearly gommage, erasing those above an ever-decreasing age. Okay, that makes more sense to me, because I was like, so it's always decreasing, like, one by one. Like, I wasn't totally 100% certain. It's a little confusing, honestly. My first session, I would say about the first 90 minutes of the game or so, it's just like story. You know what I mean? You're just in town. You can talk to people. There's kind of a impressive amount of conversations you can have and stuff like that. And it grounds you in the world, but it kind of did so without really explaining a lot to me. Like, which is good in a way. You don't want the dialogue to be just like exposition, because that's corny when they do that. But there's not even really like codex entries that you can find and read about this world or whatever too. So I've kind of had some questions that I felt like I shouldn't have had, because the characters kind of know what's up. Like, they'll call the enemies by name. They're called Nevrons. I'm like, what the fuck's a Nevron? I have no idea what that is. I'm like, visually, what are they supposed to be? Like how strong are they supposed to be? Like, we're afraid of them? Like, I don't know. Nevrons. I think it's a bad name, first of all. And I don't know what they are. And I feel like the characters know what they are. They at least know what they don't know. And I'm in confusion, like, am I supposed to be totally in the dark because they have a name for them? Usually that implies they can define them somewhat, but I can't fucking define it. I don't know what the fuck Nevron is. And then there's another one, the fucking Gumars or whatever. What are these fucking called? The Gumars. The Gestrels. So the Gestrels, they seem to be basically Nevrons, but they're like good. Instead, you can like kind of talk to them a little bit. So I don't know what these fucking things are. I don't feel like the game explained it to me. I'm pretty sure I did every optional conversation in town. Like I said, the first session about 90 minutes or whatever, and you're just in town before you set off on your expedition. You know what I mean? Which is cool. It's very grounding and stuff, but just be advised, if you only have like 90 minutes to sit down, you pretty much didn't even start the game until you get past that stuff. But then it kicks, like shit hits the fan. Like, I was like, oh shit. So it had a pretty good payoff right after that point. But then after that, after such like an initial story focus, it was kind of like a stark contrast from like the initial story focus to now it's almost like all just gameplay. I'm just in the gameplay loop right now. And you know, every 45 minutes or something, I'll hit like a little cutscene or whatever. The story kind of has peeled back a little bit, to be honest with you. But let's get into that game. Like, what is the gameplay loop? It's actually like ripped from Dark Souls. Like, there's the whole bonfire checkpoint system. You can rest back at the bonfire, which resets the enemies, and it also resets like your healing potions and stuff like that. And you can level up there, whatever. They don't have like the souls. Like, if you die, you don't lose the souls or whatever. But they really ripped that like checkpoint and progression system out of Dark Souls, which is awesome. Which is really cool to apply that, because I'll be honest, guys, I'm getting sick of the whole Dark Souls thing. I know everyone else loves it, but to take this out and put it in a different genre, like every time they announce a new From Software game, it just looks like the same fucking thing as they've been doing for 10 years now. You know what I mean? But this, to take that out, to take those mechanics and systems out and put them into a different genre game, I think that's really cool, particularly in a turn-based RPG, because I just feel like they're a little easy. You know what I mean? Because I'll go to town and I'll buy 99 potions, 99 high potions or whatever, and I'm kind of abusing the system a little bit, and I'm in the dungeon just spamming my potions after every fight, and I'm always in pretty good shape, you know? In this game, right now I have 2 potions, and I can recharge them when I get to the next bonfire. And so that's more tense, and I'm like, oh shit, now I have to fucking think about it. I can't just mindlessly fucking spam potions. I have to fucking think about it, and that's smart. But I really appreciate how you can set the difficulty to hard mode. Oh my gosh, what a fucking concept. That maybe people of different skill level want to play this game, and you shouldn't just make it fucking easy for all levels. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate that there's a hard mode, and it feels tense, which is something that I don't really associate with turn-based RPGs, because anytime something feels tense, you can just grind for just a little bit and just overpower your opponents and stuff like that. I really feel, especially in this fantasy world they're building, you're supposed to be fucking scared. Like, these people are on like a suicide mission basically, so I should feel tense. You know what I mean? I think that's a success. I really think that's a success. That's the best part of the game, guys. I'm a little disappointed on the story so far, I'll be honest with you. The success is the environments look pretty cool, although I'm confused, like narratively, I'm like, what, are we fucking underwater? Like, what is even happening in this zone? I don't really understand. Like, narratively, I kind of feel adrift. I don't really know what's happening, but the environments look cool. It feels good to move around them. Like, my friend says the running animation looks goofy, but I switched to this character who just fucking can fucking fly, like fucking glide through the environments, and it feels really cool. And I like looking for little dead ends, you know, that usually have items at the end of it or whatever. That feels good, like exploring. But at the same time, it's not like there's so many offshoots that you can get fucking lost or whatever. Like, you still generally are moving forward at a good rate. And like I said, you're hitting the checkpoints. Like, if you only have fucking 25 minutes to play, you sit down, just try to get one checkpoint or whatever. Like, it kind of feels cool. You know what I mean? So I'm really pleased with playing it. I will say, the combat, so it's not just strictly turn-based. You've got to, like, press buttons a certain time to dodge or to parry or to juice your attacks a little bit like that, so it's more active, which is cool. I would say on hard mode, it's very punishing. Like, you can't afford to miss too many dodges, especially against the bosses. They'll just fucking decimate you. But in typical Dark Souls fashion, like, you just learn the patterns and you can get better at it. But it is really punishing to not be up on your dodges. Apparently, parrying is an even shorter time window, so I'm just sticking with the dodging for now, because that's hard enough sometimes. But yeah, if you really focus on the enemies' movements and their animations and stuff like that, you can time it pretty well. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the battle system. I like how my abilities, like my characters, sort of work off of each other. Like, one of them can make the enemy weak to fire, and then the other can come in and lay down a fire attack or something like that. Like, I could set some of my characters up for their next move in a cool way. Like, the skill tree is kind of cool in that way. There's these things called pictos. I don't know why they're called that. It's another bad word for things. This game has a lot of, like, bad names for things, I feel like. But they're, like, items that you can equip, basically like accessories or whatever in another game. And it'll give you, unique little effects. And if you wear it during 4 battles, I think, then you can just learn the effect, even when you unequip that item. So it's a pretty cool system, gives you some customization and stuff, whatever. But I'm finding, and I'm only 5 hours into the game, I have so many fucking pictos that I'm like, it's just like trash to me at this point. You know what I mean? I'm like, I guess put this one on. And it's like, just put this one on because I haven't learned it yet. You know what I mean? Just equip it, just take something else off. I don't really care which, you know, I'll spend 20 seconds trying to make the best decision, but whatever. Just put the one I haven't learned yet, so that I'm not wasting battles where I could be learning new ones. But at this point, there's so many. You know, I feel like games really make that mistake a lot. It's like, don't give me so many options that nothing really even fucking matters. Like, try to give me distinct choices that lead to certain play styles and stuff like that. But I don't know. So I'm kind of, even on the hard mode, I'm kind of ignoring the accessories a little bit. I just got to a point where you can upgrade your weapons and stuff. So certain weapons scale with different stats for the attack power and stuff like that. So I literally like just got to that part. So it seems like they're adding more depth to the combat. And yeah, and some of the bosses, I feel hard mode, it might just be like making them into HP sponges a little bit. Like right before I sat down, I beat a boss and it was like a fucking 20-minute fight or something like that. It was just a battle of attrition, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like it was pretty easy to dodge him, and even occasionally I could take a hit from him and still be okay, still spend a round of healing or whatever and get back in the fight. But my attacks on him were doing like no damage. So while I do appreciate they're giving me the hard mode, I hope that it's not just a situation where they're fucking health sponges or whatever. But I like it so far. So back to the exploring. There is a little bit like, there's this mechanic where you can fucking like, if there's these certain points that you can attach to, you can go zipping across the fucking level. You're not just looking for like little paths, you know what I mean? You're also looking, you can go zip across the fucking gap and shit like that. So it's like they're kind of trying to make it more dynamic a little bit to explore, which is cool, you know what I mean? It kind of looks weird, you know, the way they like go flying and spin or whatever. Like, I don't understand like narratively like how they're able to do that, you know what I mean? And that's back to the point of like, I don't really understand this world and how this world works and the level of technology or the level of magic or whatever. Like, what are Pictos? You know what I mean? What are these weapons that they're using? I don't really understand. He's got like the main character has like a fake arm and it comes with like some lightning powers or whatever. And I'm like, well, what is that? You know what I mean? So I feel like, yes, the game is a mystery, and I'm not supposed to know who the paintress is or what her objective is or whatever. So I understand that it's a mystery, but I feel like they're not really grounding me in the world very well. I don't really understand the setting. I don't understand, you know, there's so many things I don't really understand about the game. And like I said, I don't think that's an aspect of the mystery. I think that's a failing of the storytelling, to be honest with you. But I am interested in finding out more. And it's a good experience playing. I enjoy playing it. You know what I mean? I'm a little bummed out. Like, I thought, I was like, oh, Clair Obscur, I'm going to get it day one. I was, you know, so excited. And I feel like I'm a little more measured now. I'm like, you know, okay, I enjoy it. You know, I appreciate that it was free on Game Pass. That's pretty cool. One of my favorite games is Dragon Age. And I feel like if Dragon Age did this game, there would be all these codex entries about the world. Because you could ignore it. If you're someone like, I don't want to read the game, I want to play the game, you could totally ignore that stuff. But it really enriches the experience to know more about the setting that you're inhabiting. You know what I mean? And like, I just feel like a game like someone like BioWare or whatever would have done a way better job with that. Like even this, like, all right, so there's like 60 expeditions or something that went before you, and you can find their journals. You know, so you'll find like fucking corpses and shit like that of the previous expedition. You find their journals, and I was like, oh shit. And I was thinking like, oh, this is I'm finally gonna get some history of the world or whatever, so some information on the world. And I looked at the journal, and it's only like a couple lines. So I'm supposed to buy that, like, in universe, I found a whole journal. But the game only wrote like 2 little lines for me to read or whatever. I was like, okay, that's a little underwhelming. And like when you go to your campsite, you can choose to like write in your journal for posterity or whatever. But it just says like, Gustav wrote in the journal. Like, it doesn't show you what he's writing or whatever. It's just like, that seemed like they skimped a little bit there, you know what I'm saying? Another thing about the campsite, like another comparison to Dragon Age or to BioWare, it's like when you go into the camp, you're like, oh, it's okay, some downtime to interact with my party members and to, you know, develop their relationships and whatnot, you know? And they each have like one canned line of dialogue each, and they'll keep repeating it over and over again if you try to talk to them more. And it's like, all right, that's a little, you know what I mean? Like, the graphics look really cool. Like, the budget seemed good on the graphics, and the gameplay is pretty rich. Like I said, like, I think it's a pretty novel idea. I mean, they took it from another franchise basically, but I have no complaints there. But it does seem like they skimped a little on the story, which kind of sucks because the story and the concept of the game is what drew me into it. And now I feel like I'm not really grounded in the story right now. Both from the character side, I feel like the characters are like nothing burgers, you know what I mean? Then the world and the setting and the scenario and stuff like that, I'm being let down by that right now, to be honest with you. I'm surprised because I see online, across a couple fan pages, people were talking about Clair Obscur and it sold 1 million copies or whatever, which is pretty, this is like a small French team or something, as I understand. So they're doing well. It's like some people are saying game of the year and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I don't really see it to that degree personally yet. I'm 5 hours in. I will report back. I'll do a full review later, but I'm a little surprised with the level of hype. You can stumble across, like, it seems like optional bosses or whatever in the world. And some of them will kick my fucking ass. It won't even be close. I don't do any damage to him, and he's just decimating me. And it's nice because if you lose a fight, it's not like game over. It'll load you before the battle. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. It's a nice quality of life feature. But my point is, like, am I supposed to be able to kill him? And it's like a skill check. Oh, but on hard mode, I'm like, all right, bro, you win. Yeah, you win. But the stupid thing is he's guarding like an item behind him. Motherfucker, you can just fly around him. You're quicker than he is. You could just loot the item off the ground and just leave. I was like, this is a little janky, bro. There's some level of jank to this game. I do want to say that. I do think it looks good. The character looks like fucking exactly like Robert Pattinson or whatever the fuck. They stole it, they stole the shit from Dark Souls, they stole the shit from Robert Pattinson. They stole his face right off his head. You know what I'm saying? But I think it looks pretty good. The dialogue's okay. The performance is pretty good. There's nothing I can really point to, but there's some slight level of jank. Maybe the performance, how the game is running, is like leaves a little bit to be desired and stuff like that. There's a slight bit of jank. Like I feel like there was one part right at the beginning of the game too, where it was like supposed to go to the next cutscene or whatever. You know what I mean? Where like it cut to the guy when he wasn't speaking or whatever. Like it was like a glitch. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like it was a little janky. Another thing about the dodging, there's been a couple of times where I missed the dodge. Like, oh shit, I dodged early, but I do appreciate they let you dodge again. They let you reset. You know what I mean? Like some games it would lock you out of that, and then you wouldn't be able to hit B again for the rest of the turn. But now you could kind of spam. You get a little lucky sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But you could try it again. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I really like exploring the world, and the enemies are walking around in the world, and you can hit a button to get the jump on them. You know what I mean? I always fucking hated the invisible monsters that fucking attack you in turn-based RPGs. You're just walking around the world, and now you got another fucking bullshit fight. In this one, you can evade the monsters. You can get the jump on the monsters. You could just see that they're coming. You know what I mean? I do appreciate that. I like that. Yeah, so I kind of like the whole Dark Souls thing and trying to get to the next checkpoint and everything like that. It is kind of cool, but at the end of the day, it is a bit limited by the fact that as a JRPG, there's only so many enemies you're going to see and so many configurations of those enemies, and you pretty much figure out your strategies and your attack patterns, and then it's just like you're sort of just on autopilot sometimes until you reach a boss or some new novel enemy who's going to make you stop and think, you know what I mean? But it's a little repetitive after a while. It's not like in an action game you actually have to manually go and kill the enemy, so you can forgive it a little bit more for it being a little repetitive. But when I'm just telling my guy what move to do and he just goes and does it, you want to have a little more variety from one battle to the next. There is some platforming, like I had to jump from like toadstool to toadstool or whatever one time, and it was a little flighty. You know what I mean? Like I fell off once or twice. So like, all right, I don't know if I need my turn-based RPG to have platforming in it. That might be a step too far. Like I said, like the zip lining from one side to the next, that's okay, because that's automatic. I just hit the button. You know what I mean? But to make me perform platforming in a game that's not really designed around platforming, I didn't really need that, and it's not that great. Once or twice it put me out onto like an open world kind of, and I didn't like that. I like the regular screens that you go through. It's just the way the camera angle is and stuff like that, the distance to your character from the camera and stuff like that. I like how it looks and everything like that. But then you go to like this more open world zone, and then the camera's pulled back a bit and the scale is kind of off and everything, kind of like an old school RPG when you get out into the world map or whatever. I didn't like that. That looked kind of weird. You know what I mean? Because that's a relic. Yeah, your character's walking around the globe basically. You could see him, you could just see him walking around the planet. Yeah, I mean that didn't age too well. And when that happened in this game, it's not to that degree, but I thought we didn't need that sort of like world zone. At least how they made it look, I didn't really like that. So in conclusion, I don't think it's like Final Fantasy X. I think Final Fantasy X probably holds up better than this. That might be a crazy statement, but like I feel like the writing and the characters in that game and the journey that they're on and stuff like that, I think that was stronger. You know what I mean? I think it's a little more grounded, and I don't know, the art style was better. Like the graphics here are better, but the art style there was better. I don't really like they're doing like some Baroque fucking style or whatever. See, it's like a period of French and European history that began after the Franco-Persian War in 1871. So they're doing some like French historical visuals. I don't know. It's not really my thing. Like, you fight some mimes. There's like some mimes that you fight in this game. I'm like, I don't need the fucking mimes. You know what I mean? Like, mimes are fucking lame as shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Final Fantasy had a better art style and art direction, and I liked that world and that setting and those characters a lot better. You know what I mean? So it's not quite to the level of Final Fantasy X that I was thinking. But I'm gonna beat it. Apparently it's like 30 hours long, and I do enjoy the experience of playing it. I just think there's like a dissonance between my reaction to it and the internet's reaction to it right now. Like someone compared it, someone said something like this. They were like, Clair Obscur is to JRPGs what last year Baldur's Gate 3 was to CRPGs. And I was like, I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but I feel like they knocked it out of the park and brought the shit to a whole totally new level of like polish and sort of like blowing people's minds about what the game was capable of doing and shit like that, and all the storylines and everything like that. And this, not to that degree. That's a step too. That's like a couple steps too far, to be honest. But I think it's a good game, especially if it's free on Game Pass. It's a great value. I enjoy it. I'm having a good time. I don't think Game of the Year. I don't quite think Game of the Year. Probably be fair to stick like a 7.5 on it as of right now. That's my review. It seems a little low. Like I said, other people on the internet seem to love it. You know what I mean? And I always feel like I have a different opinion as everybody else. But hey, that's, you know, I just call it how I see it, baby. You know what I mean? Call it how I see it. You know? So, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. I can see them doing like, I think they got to drop the Clair Obscur. It sounds silly. But the Expedition 33 should have just probably been the name. Not that it's great, but it's not terrible. And it means something. You know, Clair Obscur doesn't mean anything. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't mean anything. But Expedition 33, like, I could see them doing, like, I could see this being a franchise, like Expedition 0. You know what I mean? Like the first fucking one. And I'm sort of more interested narratively in that. You know what I mean? Than the one I'm on right now. I'll be more interested in that one. So I could see them doing all various sorts of expeditions, you know what I mean? And especially with selling 1 million copies or whatever, in just a week or whatever the fuck it was. So good for them. I'm excited to play more. I'm excited to report back. And video games. Like and subscribe. Thank you.